Hi, Dr. Rob here from Gym 10. I hope you're well. Welcome to this restorative stretch training session. Today we're looking at 5 bedtime stretches. And these are stretches that you can put in to your sleep routine. And I'd highly recommend you bring them into your lifestyle. The idea behind these stretches is it really recovers the body from the day's activities. And as a minimum, I would say hold these stretches for 10 seconds every single night. But if you can, once a week, bring this into a routine that we're going to be doing today, which is around, say, 20 minutes or so. It's a great way of stretching your body out, keeping yourself limbered up, and aging process reduces. Because what we're doing is lengthening the muscle fibers, getting the ligaments and tendons working properly, and we're helping with that collagen, that regeneration, which is really important. And that's going to help take out the pressure within our knee joints and increase the productivity of our body. So that's the idea of the stretches. Grab yourself a pint of water, close the doors, put some cool music on for yourself and relax. Cheers. I'm just going to put that over here. Cool. Okay, so from there, find yourself a space. Just check above your head, make sure your hands aren't going to go into any light fittings. Check behind you and around you, make sure any equipment is out of the way. Okay, so from here, we're going to do this on a nice, comforted floor. This could be on a carpet, it could be on a nice, thick yoga mat like I've got here. Our feet are a fist gap apart, we drive our pelvis forward, our shoulders come back into position, and we're going to rock our feet forwards and back, nicely in position. The pelvis comes forward, the chest stays lifted, and we stretch up. And from here, we're going to take those arms forward and lift up through the body. Now, I want you to think about how you can center yourself. Release the arms. We're going to find our feet a fist gap apart. The feet are nice underneath our seat bones. The toes are facing forwards. And when I say that, I want the second toes nice and parallel to each other. We're going to be rolling forward and back through the feet here. We've got our hips driven forward, our shoulders back, and our chest lifted. As we're working through this movement, it's just a slow, controlled rock forward and back through. We lift the chest up again, we drop our shoulders back into position, rocking forward and back each time. From here, we're going to stretch our arms up again, lean back through the move. Again, our body nicely centered. Now, as you're doing this, slow down the pace. Close the eyes, take slow, deep breaths in. Now, you know your body better than I do. If that means you're breathing slow and controlled and deeply, that's great. If that means you're breathing quite rapidly, because that helps you to relax, great. If that means you grunt and you sigh, brilliant. Do what you need to do for this stretch class. Release the arms off. Let's side flicks. Driving our pelvis forward, toe to heel, flat down to the floor. And feel the side bends stretching side to side. Five more here. Four more here. 3 more here. Last 2. 1 more. From here, we're going to forward hinge and slowly come back up. Repeating it again. Hinge forward. Slowly come back up to standing. Repeating as we go. Big toe, little toe down to the floor. As we roll down, we feel our chin come down to the chest. As we come back up to standing, the chin is the very last thing to come up. I want you to start to feel as you're doing this movement every vertebrae of the spine working. I want you to feel what happens at the pelvis. Does your pelvis tilt back behind you, or can you control it? So do you do this, or do you hinge? Feel what's happening in your body. Now, the first movement of a squat should be a little bit of an anterior tilt of the pelvis going back. What I'm going to try and do this time is keep the pelvis locked where it is. So you're going to hinge forward, then curl. And you're going to be lengthening out the back of the hamstrings. And the idea behind this is that when you get to the top point, you have to lift through your torso. You also have to brace your abdominals to stop the body collapsing. And from there, relaxing. We're going to take our feet wide. Feet are going to be nice and parallel. And we're going to hinge. We're going to drop down. Hands on top of our shins. And we're going to hold this ragdoll position. Now in this position, what I want you to feel is your big toe to little toe flat down to the floor. Toes to heel nicely grounded. Now if you struggle with your blood pressure, with gastric reflux, this might be a position where you need to come out of every now and again. It could be that you have your hands on top of your thighs and you're keeping the legs nice and strong and long. You go from your big toe to your little toe flat down to the floor and squaring out of that position. From here, if you feel comfortable, you're going to let the arms just drop into this wonderful ragdoll position. You could fold the arms and let yourself just hang here. So this is our ragdoll stretch. Feet nicely parallel. Hinge from the pelvis. A nice, long, deep stretch all the way through the back of the legs. Every now and again, you might choose to drop out your arms, come back to the front of your shins, or come to the top of the thighs. It might be that you choose to take the feet just a little bit wider again. And again, closing the eyes, focusing on the breathing. Slow, deep breaths or rapid breaths, whichever you choose. But as you're doing this, close the eyes and focus on the breath being your anchor. So if your mind starts to wander, try and let your mind come back to the breath. And every now and again, just focus on what happens at the toes and the feet. Do the feet turn out? Do they stay parallel? Do you keep the grip between the big toe and the little toe? What happens to movement? From here, we walk our hands up the thighs, and we're going to slowly take ourselves through into standing. We'll walk our feet back together and take a hamstring curl. From here, you can choose to do the next stretch either seated or in a knelt position. You can also do it standing if you choose. From here, we're going to take it into a tricep stretch. We're going to aim for our hands to be right in the middle between our shoulder blades. The elbow comes up and we drive our pelvis forward. I like to do this in a knelt position here because we can sit into the position here and we can elevate through this position here. Now, if you struggle with a lower back pain, this is great because you're driven into position here. I'd recommend that you come up high onto the knees, keeping the toes ground to the floor, or indeed the toes extended, feeling that stretch all the way through the back of the top arm. Now, as you're doing this, I want you to turn the little finger inwards into the spine of your back. So the back stays straight and lifted, and turn the little finger in. And you should feel a bit of a longer stretch through the long head of the tricep. So one side is stretching a little bit harder. Now we turn the grip round so the thumb is facing into the small of the back. We drive our pelvis forward and we turn the knuckles of the ground down to the ground. Little toes square down into position. And you might find that's changed the stretch into the tricep again. Stretch and release and swap over. Left hand again up between the shoulder blades. Elbow nice and high, pelvis driven forward. If you're struggling in a knelt position here, get a cushion underneath both of the knees to support and stabilize it. Again, we're going to work rotation so the little finger comes into the small of the back and the hips drive forward. As we release, we swap it again. The thumb faces into the small of the back this time. The shoulders back into position. And slowly releasing out. Dropping down onto the shins, extending yourself all the way through the front of your shins. Our next stretch, I'm going to turn the mat out, is our third stretch here. We're going to go into a frog position. So we're going to take our knees out nice and wide, and then we're going to turn our feet. So we're turning the heels in towards each other. The toes are facing out to the side, and we're going to drop down into our forearms. It's a lovely way of opening up the hips and the pelvis. And as you're working through the stretch, all you need to do now is take the knees a little bit wider apart and try to drop the malleolus of the ankle, the bumpy bit, the inside of your heel, down to the floor. Now, to develop the stretch and the movement, you're going to push your bottom back towards your heels and slowly pull yourself back in again. And as we change our grip position, we might be able to lower our forehead down to the floor. And we're just going to push back again and feel the stretch through a whole myriad of places. It could be that you're really tight in your ankles. It could be that you're tight in your big toes. You might find this predominantly through your hips, your pelvis, your inner thigh, your outer thigh, your lower back. When you feel a stretch, that's what you need to do, is just hold it there. Again, closing the eyes, taking a slow deep breath in, slowly breathing out. You push back a little bit further, feeling that stretch increase. Again, take a slow deep breath in and slow exhale, breathe out. Push the hips back a little bit further. Now you might be able to walk on your forearms just a little bit further back again, and that's going to help you develop that stretch. Now, what I tend to find here is I'm bringing my elbows back in towards my knees. What I'm finding, I'm able to push my backside back a little bit further, and my inner thighs are feeling a lovely deep stretch. Everyone is really, really different. You might find this is getting more into the outside of your hips. Everyone is different, but keeping those heels turned down, And then this time we're going to try and push the ankles down towards the ground again. And that stretch increase a little bit further. And from there, releasing out. And then coming back through into our kneeling position. Our next stretch we're going to work out. We're going to walk back onto the front of our shins again. Heels down to the ground, chest lifted. We're now going to take both hands up and place them over the top of our head. Both hands are going to be resting on the back of your head. You can choose which hand goes on top of the other and hold that stretch there. Now, as you're holding onto the stretch, I want you to walk your hands down gently down the nape of your neck. Open up the chest and bring your elbows back to the wall behind you. As you do this, drive your pelvis forward and feel your glutes engage. And release. Bring both elbows forward, roll your shoulders. Whichever hand you have on top of the other, you're going to swap it round. And again, taking the one hand on top of the other behind the neck. And then you're going to walk your hands down behind the neck and tap your elbows back. Elbows are up high towards the ceiling again. You might find a big stretch through the front of the chest. You might find a stretch through the neck. You might find it through the shoulders. Ideally, this is a shoulder stretch. You might find it gets you in the rib cage, which be your serratus anterior. It could be the pectoral minor that's tight on you. You drive your pelvis forward, you lift your chest, and feel that stretch will increase. And relax out. It's a lovely stretch. You should feel your back has come up straighter. Our final stretch, we're going to stay in this now position. We're going to take our left foot forward, and our feet and our legs are on two railway tracks. We bring our hands on top of our thighs and we slowly kneel forwards into this. The glutes engage just slightly, the hip flexor lengthens. Shoulder blades come back into position, and then we wiggle the front foot forward again. We then take the front foot forward, another little shuffle. Drive the pelvis forward. You should feel a lovely lengthening here through the hip flexors. Psoas, major, minor, iliacus, hip flexor, recfen. You might even feel a big, deep stretch through the front of your thighs. And again, in your bedtime routine, 10 seconds on each of all of these, and you will see a massive improvement in your physique. You'll have a massive improvement in your flexibility. You'll decrease your muscle straining. You'll improve your muscle tone. You'll increase your muscle strength. Swap it over. You'll decrease the need for anti-inflammatories. And each time you're doing this, you're working parasympathetically through the body. You're encouraging the body to rest and digest, feeling that relaxation. We're feeling the big toe to the little toe down to the ground, the knuckles square and flat to the floor. If you're able to see your back foot, the back foot should be in a straight line facing forward, rather than being whipped in behind you or away from you anteriorly. You've got your hips driven forward here, pelvis driven forward, shoulders back, chest lifted. From here, slowly stepping out of this, extending the lead leg, pressing off the top leg, shake it out. Hinge back into your ragdoll position, either resting on top of your thighs or on top of your shins. From there, stand yourself back up, dust it off, shake it out, really, really well trained. You should feel a massive change in your posture at this position here. It might feel like you're using different muscles to stand, which is great. Well done. I hope you enjoyed that training session. As always, if you did live, hashtag live, if you did replay, hashtag replay. And as always, have a really, really good drink of water after that training set. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time for the next one. Well trained. Cheers. Well done, guys. Very good. Awesome.
Thank you.